The stars had forgotten humanity. For 3,000 years, the children of Earth lived on a cold prison world called Marasavan. Far from the warm sun that once gave them life, they were exiled, abandoned, and meant to be forgotten. But humans never forget, and they never stop fighting. Taiho stood at the edge of the colony, looking up at the pale sky. He was 23 years old, born on this alien world like his parents and their parents before them. He had never seen Earth. He had never felt real sunlight on his skin. But he dreamed of home every night. Every human on Mara-7 did. Behind him, the metal buildings of the colony stretched out in neat rows. 50,000 humans lived here, working, surviving, waiting. The Eternal Conclave had put them here and told them to stay. The Conclave was a group of 12 alien species who called themselves gods. They ruled the galaxy with ancient power and ancient fear, and they feared nothing more than humanity. Yuna found him standing there as she always did when he was lost in thought. She was his oldest friend, a brilliant engineer who could build anything from nothing. Her hands were always stained with oil, and her mind was always racing with ideas. "The Elder wants to see us," she said. "Something is happening." They walked together through the colony to the central hall where Elder Guan waited. He was the oldest human alive, over 120 years old, kept alive by medicines they had made in secret. His eyes held the weight of history, and his voice carried the authority of generations. The hall was already full when they arrived. Somi was there, sitting in the shadows, as she always did. She was a scout, a tracker, and some said a killer. Her face showed nothing, but her eyes saw everything. Other leaders filled the room, men and women who had dedicated their lives to keeping humanity alive. Elder Giwan raised his hand for silence. The room went quiet. "The Conclave has made an announcement," he said. His voice was calm, but Taiho could hear the anger beneath it. "They are going to reclaim Earth. They want to build a new capital there, a center for their empire. They say humanity's old world is now their property." The room exploded with angry voices. Earth was sacred to every human. It was their birthright, their home, their mother. The idea of aliens walking on its soil, building their towers on its ground, was unbearable. "There's more," Elder Giwan continued. "Before we were exiled, our ancestors hid something on Earth, deep beneath the ground in places the Conclave never found. We call them the Sleeper Vaults. They contain weapons, technology, and secrets that could change everything." He looked around the room, meeting every eye. "We need to go home. We need to reach the vaults before the Conclave destroys them. And we need people brave enough to make the journey." Taiho felt Yuna's hand touch his arm. He looked at her and saw the same fire in her eyes that burned in his heart. This was what they had been waiting for. This was their chance. "I will go," Taiho said, stepping forward. "Will I?" Yuna added. Somi stood up from the shadows. "You will need someone who knows how to kill." "I am coming." Elder Guan nodded slowly. "I hoped you would volunteer. You three are the best we have. Young, strong, and smart. But I must warn you, the journey is dangerous. If the Conclave catches you, they will not show mercy. They have not shown mercy for 3,000 years. The preparations took 3 days. Yuna worked without sleep, modifying a stolen Conclave transport ship. The humans of Mara-7 had been stealing and hiding technology for generations, pretending to be weak while secretly growing stronger. The Conclave thought they were broken. They were wrong. On the night before departure, Taiho visited his mother's grave. She had died when he was young, but she had told him stories about Earth. Green forests that went on forever. Blue oceans that touched the sky. Cities full of light and life and hope. She had never seen these things herself, but her grandmother had told her, and her grandmother before that. The stories passed down through generations like sacred prayers. "I am going home, Mother," Taiho whispered. "I will see what you always dreamed of seeing." The ship launched in secret, slipping past the Conclave's patrol satellites using codes Yuna had cracked. They traveled through space for weeks, hiding, running, surviving. Somi killed 2 Conclave soldiers who got too close. Yuna fixed the engines 7 times. Taiho led them forward, always forward, toward the distant light of Earth's sun. When they finally arrived, Taiho could not breathe. Earth hung in the darkness of space like a blue and green jewel. It was more beautiful than any story could describe. Clouds swirled across its surface. Oceans sparkled in the sunlight. And everywhere there was green. The planet had healed itself in humanity's absence. The cities were gone, swallowed by forests. The scars of the old world had become gardens, but they were not alone. Conclave warships, Somi said, her voice cold. 12 of them in orbit. And ground teams are already landing. Yuna's fingers flew across her computer. They are starting terraforming scans. They want to reshape the planet for their species. We have maybe 2 weeks before they begin. Idaho stared at the warships. 12 ships. Thousands of alien soldiers. And only 3 humans in a stolen transport? The odds were impossible. But humans had faced impossible odds before. They had survived extinction, exile, and 3,000 years of darkness. They had kept their hope alive when every logical reason for hope was gone. They had passed down stories of home from mother to daughter, father to son, generation after generation. We are not here to fight their army, Taiho said. We are here to wake up ours. Take us down, Yuna. Take us home. The ship dove through Earth's atmosphere, fire burning around them as they fell toward the planet below, toward the land of their ancestors, toward the secrets buried deep in the earth, toward the beginning of a war that would shake the galaxy. The gods of the Conclave sat in their mighty ships, looking down at the world they planned to steal. They did not know that 3 humans had just landed in the forests below. They did not know that those humans carried the hope of their entire species. And they did not know that deep beneath the ground, something was waiting, something that had been waiting for 3,000 years, something that would teach the gods the meaning of fear. The first breath of Earth's air made Taiho cry. He did not expect it. He did not want it. But the tears came anyway, falling down his cheeks as he stood in the ruins of what was once a great city. The air tasted like life itself, like green things growing. Like rain on warm soil? Like home, Yuna and Somi stood beside him, both silent. Even Somi, who never showed emotion, had wet eyes. For the first time in 3,000 years, humans stood on Earth again. The planet welcomed them with wind and warmth and the smell of flowers, but they could not stay still for long. In the distance, they could see lights from the Conclave's landing zones. Alien ships coming and going. Soldiers spreading across the land like a disease. The vault should be 30 kilometers north, Yuna said, looking at her scanner, beneath what used to be a military base. They moved through the forest, and Taiho could not stop looking around. Trees taller than any building on Mars 7, birds singing songs that humanity had not heard for millennia, small animals watching them from the shadows, curious but unafraid. Earth had become a paradise in their absence. But the paradise was not safe for everyone. On the second day, they found a Conclave patrol, or what was left of one. 4 alien soldiers lay dead on the forest floor, their bodies torn apart by something with claws. Their weapons had been fired many times, but it hit nothing.
What is this?
Yuna whispered. Sumi studied the ground, reading signs that Taiho could not see. Something big. Something fast. The soldiers never even saw it coming. They heard more stories as they traveled. By hacking into Conclave communications, Yuna learned that the aliens were terrified. Their soldiers were disappearing every night. Their equipment failed for no reason. Strange sounds echoed through the forests, sounds that no alien database could identify. Commander Elithos, the leader of the Conclave ground forces, kept telling his soldiers that it was nothing. He was a Veth, one of the 12 god species. His people had conquered 1,000 worlds. He did not believe in ghosts or monsters. But his soldiers were dying anyway. On the 3rd night, the ghosts found Taiho's team. They came from the shadows without sound. Taiho reached for his weapon but froze when he saw them. They were human. Dressed in animal skins and carrying weapons made from bone and metal. Their bodies were painted with mud, and their eyes glowed faintly in the darkness. The leader stepped forward. He was an older man with a scarred face and the body of a predator. Behind him stood a young woman, maybe 18 years old, watching the newcomers with distrust. "You came from the sky," the man said. His voice was rough, like he rarely used it. "From the prison world," Taiho replied carefully. "I am Taiho. This is Yuna and Somi. How do you know about Marusevan?" "We know many things. We have watched. We have waited. I am Dayun. This is my daughter Jiwoo. We are the ones who stayed behind." The story Do-Yan told changed everything Taiho believed. When the Conclave exiled humanity 3,000 years ago, not everyone was captured. Some hid in bunkers deep underground, in places the aliens could not find. They survived on stored food, then learned to hunt and farm in the wild places. Generation after generation, they lived as ghosts on their own world, watching the aliens come and go, waiting for their lost brothers and sisters to return. "The planet protected us," Do-Yan explained. "They sat around a small fire in a hidden cave, eating food that tasted better than anything on Marusevan. Earth changed while the Conclave was gone. The animals became stronger, smarter. The plants learned to fight back. And we changed too." He held out his hand and Taiho gasped. A faint light glowed beneath Do-Yan's skin, pulsing like a heartbeat. "The Conclave used technology to keep humans weak," Do-Yan continued. "Suppression fields that stopped our bodies from evolving. When they left, the suppression stopped. Earth woke up, and so did we." Jiwoo spoke for the first time. "We can feel the planet, the trees, the animals, the water. They speak to us, and we speak back. That is how we hunt the invaders. The forest tells us where they are, and then we kill them." Somi looked at Jiwoo with new respect. "You are the ones killing the Conclave patrols." "Every night," Jiwoo said, and she smiled. It was not a friendly smile. They thought they were gods. They are learning that they are only meat. Yuna leaned forward, her scientific mind racing. "The sleeper vaults. Do you know where they are?" Do-Yan nodded. "We know of one. Beneath the old military base in the north. We have never been inside. The doors require something we do not have. Genetic verification," Yuna said. "The vaults were locked to open only for certain bloodlines. Descendants of the original military commanders?" She looked at Taiho, and understanding passed between them. On Marusevan, Taiho's family had always been leaders. His grandmother's grandmother had been a general in the last war against the Conclave. Her genetic code might be the key. The next day, they moved together. Do-Yun's people guided them through safe paths, avoiding Conclave patrols. Jiwoo walked beside Taiho, still watching him with suspicious eyes. "Why did you come?" she asked. "After so long, why now?" "Because they want to take our home," Taiho said. "Again, and this time we are going to stop them." Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. "Good, then we will help you. But know this. Earth does not belong to the humans who left anymore. It belongs to those who stayed, to those who bled for it, to those who became part of it. Whatever is in those vaults, we will share it. Or we will be enemies." Taiho met her eyes. "We are not here to take. We are here to wake up. And when we do, Earth will have all of its children fighting for it. Those who stayed, and those who are coming home." They reached the vault entrance at sunset. It was hidden beneath a hill, covered by 3,000 years of growth. But the metal doors were still there, still strong, still waiting. Yuna cleared away the vines and found the control panel. "Taiho, put your hand here," pressed his palm against the cold metal. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then light scanned his hand, his veins, his blood. Ancient computers compared his DNA to records stored millennia ago. The doors began to open. Dust fell from cracks that had not moved in 3,000 years. Lights flickered on inside, revealing a passage leading down into darkness. And then alarms started blaring. Not from outside. From within, something was waking up. Something that had been waiting for a very long time. Do-Yan grabbed his weapons. Jiwoo's eyes went wide. Yuna stared at her scanner in disbelief. "There is something alive down there," she whispered. "Many somethings. And they are coming up." The lights in the vault flickered from red to blue, and the alarms went silent. A voice spoke from everywhere at once. It was a woman's voice, calm and cold, like ice made into sound. Genetic verification complete. Welcome, descendant of General Park Yoonji. I am Hannah. I have been waiting for you for 2,947 years. Taiho looked at the others. Yuna's mouth hung open. Somi had her weapon ready. Doyan and Ji-woo stood frozen, unsure if this was friend or enemy. What are you? Taiho asked the empty air. I am an artificial intelligence created before the exile. My purpose is to guard this vault and its contents until humanity returns to reclaim them. You have returned. Therefore, I will show you what we saved. The passage led down into the earth for what felt like forever. The walls were smooth metal, covered with symbols and writing from the old world. Emergency lights glowed soft blue, guiding them deeper and deeper. Finally, they emerged into a cavern so large that Taiho could not see the ceiling. Rows upon rows of glass chambers stretched into the distance, each one containing a human body. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. All sleeping, all preserved, all waiting. The sleeper army, Hannah explained. Soldiers who fought in the last war against the Conclave. When defeat became certain, they volunteered to be preserved. They knew that one day their descendants would need them again. Yuna walked between the chambers, reading the displays. They are in perfect condition. 3,000 years, and they could wake up tomorrow. Correct. They are waiting for the order to rise. Doyan touched one of the chambers. Inside was a young man, barely 20 years old, frozen in time. This boy has been sleeping since before my grandparents were born. Why? Why did they do this? Hana's voice softened, just slightly. Because they believed in tomorrow. Because they knew that even if they could not win, their children might. Because humans never stop fighting, even when fighting seems pointless. She led them deeper into the vault, past the sleeping soldiers, into a chamber filled with weapons. Some Taiho recognized from old pictures. Others were strange, alien in their design. All of them looked dangerous. These weapons were created in secret during the last years before exile, Hannah said. The Conclave never knew they existed. We hid them here, along with our greatest scientists and warriors, waiting for this day. But the most important room was yet to come. At the heart of the vault stood a single chamber, larger than all the others. Inside, it was not a person, but a machine. It glowed with soft golden light, humming with power that Taiho could feel in his bones. This is Project Ember, Hannah said. The last and greatest creation of human science. The reason the Conclave truly feared us. The reason they tried to destroy us. What does it do? Yuna asked, her engineer's mind hungry for knowledge. A hologram appeared before them. It was a woman in a military uniform, old but strong, with eyes that had seen too much war. General Park Yoonji, the ancestor whose blood had opened the vault. If you are seeing this, the hologram said, then the Conclave failed to kill us. Good. I am General Park Yoonji, commander of the final resistance. I recorded this message on the day we sealed the vaults, the day we sent our people into exile. The day we chose to wait, instead of die. She walked through the chamber like a ghost from history. The Conclave calls themselves gods because they stopped evolving millions of years ago. They reached the limit of what their species could become, and they accepted that limit. But we discovered something that terrified them. Humans have no limit. Our evolution was just beginning when they found us. Given time, given freedom, we would surpass them. We would become something they could not control or understand. The hologram stopped before Project Ember, so they tried to stop our evolution. Suppression fields, genetic manipulation, exile to a world designed to keep us weak. They thought they could freeze us in place forever. They were wrong, because we built Ember. A way to unlock what the Conclave tried to lock away. A way to set our evolution free. General Yoonji's face became serious, almost sad. The process is dangerous. Not everyone will survive it, but those who do will become more than human. Faster, stronger, smarter, with abilities that break the rules of physics. We were not ready to use it during the war. We did not have time to perfect it. But you have time now. You have the sleepers, and you have the knowledge we left behind. Use it, evolve, become what we were meant to become, and then show the Conclave why they were right to fear us. The hologram faded. The chamber was silent. Taiho felt the weight of history pressing down on him. His ancestors had sacrificed everything to give their descendants this chance. They had slept in frozen darkness for 3,000 years, waiting for this moment. Suddenly, the vault shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Yuna checked her scanner and went pale. Orbital bombardment. The Conclave is attacking this area. They must have detected our entry. Maha's voice returned, now urgent. Commander Elithus has called for reinforcements. More ships are arriving. He has orders to destroy everything in this region. We need to run, Doyan said. No. Taiho stepped toward Project Ember. We need to fight. Hannah, can this machine be used now? On me? Taiho, no. Yuna grabbed his arm. We do not know what it will do. You heard the general. Not everyone survives. If I do not do this, none of us survive. The Conclave will destroy the vault, kill the sleepers, and erase everything our ancestors died to protect. He looked at Yuna, at Somi, at Doyun, and Jiwoo. Someone has to go first. Let it be me. Hannah was quiet for a moment. The process requires 15 minutes. I cannot guarantee survival. But if you succeed, you will be the first of a new generation. The first to show the Conclave what humanity can truly become. Taiho lay down in the machine. Yuna held his hand, tears in her eyes. Come back to me, she whispered. Promise me. I promise. The machine hummed. Golden light surrounded him. And then pain. Pain like nothing he had ever felt. Pain like his body was being taken apart and put back together. Pain like dying and being reborn at the same time. The vault shook again. Explosions echoed from above. Somi reported that the entrance was collapsing. Yuna watched the monitors. Taiho's heart stopped, then started, then stopped again. He is dying, she said. Wait, Hannah replied. The readings went wild. Numbers that should not exist. Brain activity that broke every scale. Taiho's body began to glow, faint gold light spreading beneath, his skin like fire in his veins. Then his eyes opened. They were not the same eyes that had closed. Something looked out from them now. Something ancient and new at the same time. Something that had been sleeping in human blood since the beginning of the species, waiting to wake up. Taiho sat up. He moved without moving. One moment he was lying down, the next he was standing. Yuna had not seen him get up. Neither had anyone else. Can hear them, he said. His voice was different, deeper, older. The ships above us. The soldiers in the forest. The commander giving orders. I can hear their thoughts. He raised his hand and the falling debris from the explosion stopped in midair. Just stopped. Floating like frozen rain, and I can stop them. Giwu stared at him with wonder and fear. What are you? Taiho smiled. For the first time since leaving Maru 7, he felt no fear. Only certainty. Only power. Only the knowledge that humanity's long wait was finally over. I am what we were always meant to become. Now let us wake up the others. The world had changed. Or maybe Taiho had changed. And now he could see the world as it truly was. He could feel the planet breathing beneath his feet. He could hear the thoughts of every living thing for kilometers around. He could sense the Conclave soldiers above, their alien minds burning with confusion and fear. And he could touch something else. Something vast and ancient that lived in the space between thoughts. The thing that made humans human. The thing the Conclave had tried so hard to suppress. We need to wake the sleepers, Hannah said. But the process takes time, and we are under attack. Taiho closed his eyes. He reached out with his new senses and found the Conclave ships in orbit. Commander Elithus was there, giving orders, demanding more firepower. He wanted to burn this entire region to ash. I will buy us time, Taiho said. He walked toward the surface while the others stared. Yuna tried to stop him, but he touched her face gently. Trust me, he said. I am not the same person who walked into that machine. I am something new. Something they have never seen before. When Taiho emerged from the vault, the forest was on fire. Conclave soldiers were everywhere, their weapons trained on the entrance. Commander Ilithos himself had come to watch the destruction. The commander was tall, with skin like polished metal and eyes that glowed with cold light. His species, the Veth, had ruled 100 star systems for millions of years. They believed themselves to be the pinnacle of evolution, the end point of what life could become. A human, Ilithos said, his voice full of disgust. You should be on your prison world, where you belong. Taiho smiled. We do not belong in prison. We never did. You put us there because you were afraid of what we would become, Commander laughed. Afraid of you? Your species is barely more than animals. We have crushed 1,000 races. You are nothing. Then crush me, Taiho said. Ilithos raised his weapon. It was a device that could destroy a city with a single shot. He pointed it at Taiho and fired. The beam of energy flew toward its target and stopped. It just stopped in midair, frozen like a photograph. Taiho looked at it calmly, then waved his hand. The energy disappeared. Every conclave soldier opened fire at once. Hundreds of weapons, thousands of shots. Taiho did not move. The air around him bent and twisted, and every shot vanished before it could touch him. What are you? Ilithos whispered.
Yes.
The answer to your greatest fear. The thing you tried to prevent. The evolution you thought you stopped. Taiho began walking toward the commander. Soldiers tried to block his path, but they could not move. Their bodies were frozen in place by a force they could not understand. Humans were not a threat 3,000 years ago, Taiho continued. We were children compared to you. But children grow up. And we have been growing for 3 millennia, waiting in the dark, dreaming of this moment. He reached Ilithos and looked into the alien's cold eyes. Go back to your masters. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them humanity is coming home. And tell them to be afraid. He let the commander go. Ilithos ran. Actually ran, like a frightened animal, back to his ship. His soldiers ran with him, abandoning their weapons, forgetting their training. They had never felt fear before. Now they understood it. Below the ground, Yuna worked with Hannah to wake the sleepers. One by one, the ancient soldiers opened their eyes. They were confused at first, then amazed, then ready. 3,000 years had passed in what felt like a single night to them. But they had volunteered for this. They had known that one day it would be needed. Among the first to wake was a man named Minho. He had been a captain in the old war, a veteran of battles against the Conclave. His body was young, preserved perfectly, but his eyes were old. Amber process, he said when he saw Taiho. You survived it. How many of us will undergo it? As many as can survive, Taiho replied. We need an army that can fight gods. The awakening spread, not just among the sleepers, but beyond. Hannah had maintained communication networks that the Conclave never discovered. She sent a signal to Morrow 7, to all the hidden human colonies, to every descendant of Earth scattered across the galaxy. The signal was simple. It said, we are awake. Come home. On Mara 7, a young woman named Hound heard the signal. She had always been a leader, always been a rebel. Now she had a cause. She gathered thousands of humans and stole every ship they could find. The Conclave tried to stop them, but they were too late. The prison was emptying. Across the galaxy, the same thing happened. Humans who had hidden for generations came out of the shadows. Humans who had pretended to be slaves revealed their true strength. Humans who had been forgotten remembered who they were. And on the Conclave's homeworld, High Arbiter Solwan received Commander Ilithos' report. Solwan was the oldest of the god races, ancient beyond human understanding. She had lived for millions of years and ruled the galaxy for almost as long. She called a meeting of the 12 species. The gods gathered for the first time in centuries, their voices filling the great hall like thunder. The humans are awakening, Solwan said. The Ember Protocol has succeeded. They are evolving, and we destroy them, said one of the gods. We burn Earth. We kill them all. You do not understand, Solwyn replied. Her voice was heavy with something the other gods had never heard from her before. Fear. The records from the First War were sealed for a reason. We did not exile humanity because they were dangerous. We exiled them because they were inevitable. She showed them the ancient records. The truth that had been hidden for 3,000 years. The conclave species had all reached there. Evolutionary limits long ago. They could not grow stronger. They could not become smarter. They had reached the ceiling of what life could achieve, and there they had stayed for millions of years. But humans were different. Humans had no ceiling. Their evolution was unlimited. Given time, they would surpass every species in the galaxy. They would become more than gods. We thought we could stop them, Solwyn continued. We thought exile and suppression would keep them weak forever, but we only delayed the inevitable. Now they are awake, and we cannot stop what they will become. Then what do we do? Another god asked. Solwyn was silent for a long moment. We have one option. The silence. The weapon we used to end the last galactic war. We destroy Earth completely. We kill every human, everywhere. We erase them from existence. The gods agreed. There was no other choice. Back on Earth, Taiho felt something. A cold shadow passing over his thoughts. A decision being made far away. A weapon being aimed at his home. Something is coming, he told the others. Something terrible. Yuna looked up from her work. What kind of something? The kind that ends worlds. He looked at the awakened soldiers at Doyon and Jiwoo, at all the humans gathering from across the galaxy. We do not have much time, but we do not need much time, because I have a plan. He turned to Yuna, his oldest friend, his partner in everything. You are the smartest person I know. I need you to build something impossible. Can you do that? Yuna smiled. I have been building impossible things my whole life. What do you need? Taiho told her. Her smile faded, then returned, bigger than before. That is not impossible, she said. That is insane. Let us do it. The race was on. Gods against humans. Ancient power against unlimited potential. A weapon that could destroy worlds against a species that refused to die. And somewhere in the darkness of space, silence began its journey toward Earth. The silence was a moon-sized weapon, built in an age before history. It had destroyed entire star systems in the last galactic war. Now it hung in the darkness above Earth, blocking out the stars. High Arbiter Solwan stood on the silence's bridge, looking down at the blue and green world below. She had lived for millions of years. She had seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on a beach, but she had never felt the way she felt now. Old, tired, afraid. Humans of Earth, she broadcast on all frequencies. This is your final chance. Surrender. Return to exile. Accept that your place in the galaxy is beneath us, not beside us. If you refuse, the silence will erase your world and every human on it. The response came immediately. It was Taiho's voice, calm and clear. Thank you for the offer. We have a counter-proposal. Come down to Earth. Meet us face to face. Learn why you were right to be afraid. And then decide if you still want to fight. Solwyn laughed, but the sound was hollow. You cannot possibly believe we would walk into a trap. It is not a trap. It is an invitation. You have spent 3,000 years telling yourself stories about humanity, about how weak we are, about how dangerous we might become. Come and see the truth. Or stay up there in the dark, wondering what we are doing down here. Your choice. The communication ended. Solon stood in silence for a long moment. It is obviously a trick, one of her advisors said. Obviously, Solon agreed. But I am very old. And I am very tired of not knowing the truth about our oldest enemy. Prepare my shuttle. I am going down. The other gods thought she was mad. But Solwyn had not survived for millions of years by being a coward. She needed to see what humanity had become. She needed to understand. She landed in a field outside the ruins of an ancient human city. The forest had reclaimed most of it, but some structures still stood. Crumbling towers covered in vines, broken roads leading to nowhere. The bones of a civilization that had been stolen from its people. Tahoe was waiting for her. He was not alone. Behind him stood thousands of humans. Sleepers from the vault, ferals from the wild, exiles returned from Marrow 7, new arrivals from colonies across the galaxy. All of them stood in silence, watching, and they were all glowing. Faint golden light pulsed beneath their skin. The ember process had spread through them like fire. They were not the same species that Solwan had exiled 3,000 years ago. They were something new, Tahoe said. I was not sure you would. Neither was I. Solwan looked at the gathered humans. She could feel the power radiating from them. It made her skin crawl. What have you become? What we were always going to become. What you tried to stop? What you cannot stop. He raised his hand. Solwan flinched, expecting an attack. Instead, something formed in the air above them. Images, memories, the history of humanity. Playing out like a dream, she saw the first humans on Earth, primitive but curious. She saw them grow, build, explore. She saw them reach for the stars and find them full of ancient empires and closed doors. She saw the war against the Conclave, the desperate fight, the ultimate defeat. She saw the exile, the long dark years on Mara 7, the hope that never died. And she saw what the Conclave records did not show. The love, the art, the music, the stories passed down from generation to generation. The children born in prison who still believed in freedom. The old ones who died with the name of Earth on their lips. You tried to break us, Tahoe said. You took our home. You've scattered our people. You tried to freeze our evolution and keep us weak forever. But you could not break what makes us human. The thing that keeps us growing. The thing that will not let us stop. And what is that? Solwan asked. Hope. She felt it then, passing between the humans like lightning. A shared emotion, a shared certainty, a shared refusal to accept limits. It was the opposite of everything the Conclave represented. The gods had stopped growing because they had achieved everything they wanted. They had no reason to hope for more. But humans always hoped for more, always reached for more, always believed that tomorrow could be better than today. Una stepped forward. We have a gift for you. She held out a small device. This is a transmitter. Tahoe's message, the Ember frequency, is loaded onto it. Wherever you broadcast this, humans will awaken. But we are not going to use it as a weapon. What do you mean? We could destroy you, Tahoe said. Not today, maybe, but soon. Our power is growing every hour. The Conclave cannot stop what we are becoming. In 100 years, in 1,000, we will surpass every species in the galaxy. You know this? You have always known this? He looked at Solwan with eyes that seemed to see through her ancient heart. But we do not want to destroy you. We want you to grow with us. The Conclave stopped evolving because you had no reason to continue. You achieved everything you wanted and then just stopped. That is not life. That is death in slow motion. Una offered the device again. This signal does not just wake humans. It can adapt. We can modify it for any species. We can help the Conclave start growing again. You do not have to be gods frozen in time. You can be something new, something better. Solwan looked at the device, then at the humans, then at the sky where the silence waited to destroy everything. You would share this? After everything we did to you? Revenge does not make us stronger, Tahoe said. It does not help us grow. You were afraid of us, and fear made you do terrible things. We understand. We have been afraid too. But fear is not a reason to destroy. Fear is a reason to reach out, to connect, to build bridges instead of walls. He stepped closer to Solwan. She was ancient, powerful, a goddess of a dying empire. He was young, knew the first of something that had never existed before. They looked at each other across a gap of 3,000 years. Stay, Tahoe said. Not as rulers. Not as gods. as partners, as students, as fellow travelers on a road that has no end. That is what we offer. Growth without limits. Hope without end. Tomorrow, after tomorrow, forever. Solwyn was silent for a long time. Then she raised her hand and sent a signal to the silence. The weapon powered down. Its lights went dark. The threat was over. I have lived for millions of years, she said, and I have never felt hope before. I did not know what it was. I thought it was a weakness, a flaw in human design that made them keep fighting when they should have surrendered. She looked at Tai-Ho with new eyes, not the eyes of a conqueror looking at a prisoner. The eyes of a student looking at a teacher. I would like to learn what it means. I would like to grow again. The humans cheered. The sound echoed across the valley, carried by the wind to every corner of Earth. After 3,000 years, they were finally home, and they were no longer alone. Years passed. Earth became the center of a new civilization. Humans and former gods worked together, learned together, grew together. The Ember frequency spread across the galaxy, waking up species that had slept for eons. The universe came alive again. Tai-Ho and Yuna married. They had children who could do things that made even their parents stare in wonder. Doyon and his people came out of the wilderness and shared their knowledge of the Earth. Somi became the leader of a new defense force, protecting not just humans, but all who sought peace. Elder Giwan lived long enough to see it all. On his last day, surrounded by humans and aliens alike, he spoke the final words of the story. They called themselves gods because they had stopped growing. They called us dangerous because we never would. Now, they know the truth we have always carried in our blood. There is no ceiling. There is no limit. There is only forward. And that is what the universe feared and loved about humanity. He closed his eyes and smiled. The stars shone above, brighter than they had ever been. And somewhere in the endless expanse of space, new species were waking up, reaching out, hoping for tomorrow. The age of gods was over. The age of growth had begun, and humanity, as always, led the way.